G'day and welcome to this webinar on moving planning beyond spreadsheets. My name is Tim Graham and I'm the founder of Prophit Systems. Many of our businesses that we work with have Excel farms, just Excel spreadsheets everywhere that the business and the planners in particular are using to answer questions. And one of the first queries that you have to ask yourself is, why is Excel so prolific? And the answer for anyone that's found themselves in this situation is largely it's quick and it's flexible. You know, if you need to get an answer today, it might take you all day, but you'll find a way of dropping the data out of your ERP system and then manipulating it in the ways that you want. In that process of actually getting in there and manipulating the data, you get more insight and ultimately work out what it is and how you want it to work. So Excel is terrific for that. It's great for prototyping, and it's great when you need an answer now that you don't have pre-formatted. It's excellent. But there are limitations, and ultimately when you get to this point, we've got Excel farms everywhere and you're spending your days just trying to keep these flexible beasts in sync, you're in strife. Ultimately, what we find is that we rarely take complexity out of our spreadsheets. We normally have enough time just to get the answer, or we crunch ourselves until we get the answer that we need, and we don't go back and tidy up the spreadsheets. And we're loath to take formula out and functionality out. Each time a new question is asked for us, we take what we've already built and then modify it, but it's rare that we go back and reverse out other work that we've done. And as a consequence, the models get harder and harder to manage. You get more and more capable, but harder to manage, and there's more and more pitfalls involved. And the real problems with Excel aren't that it's not flexible. It certainly is, and that sometimes it isn't fast for doing some of the jobs that we need. It can be, but the real problems are we can't see the assumptions that are inside them. You can't see, and certainly other people can't sense check easily what you're doing and how you're doing it. It doesn't expose the logic easily or well, and all of us would have experienced the frustration of when you inadvertently type over a formula with a number, and it can be extremely difficult to find that later. So they can become corrupt and you may not even know. One of the biggest issues, though, is that the people that have the capability of building these spreadsheets to answer the problems, our best and our brightest, if you will, they become stuck to their models. Their thought process isn't so entrenched, and the capabilities in the models become so daunting for other people to wrestle with, and the business becomes so dependent upon the outcomes and the outputs of this that we end up having our people stuck to their models. And they're the people that I want to liberate them so that we can use them to solve the real challenging business problems, not spend their life just continually refreshing data inside Excel spreadsheets. At Prophit Systems, our real purpose is to amplify the effectiveness of your supply chain team. And all of our solutions are designed to really deeply empower your team. And we do that by taking away the noise and the clutter of the clerical tasks that are involved, and we make it easy for them to see the consequences of their actions. But in other words, what we're really about is making your team look like little superheroes. The Prophit Suite is an integrated suite of products. It includes forecasting, capacity planning, material-aware inventory planning, and constraint-aware inventory planning. We have an optimization engine. ePlanner is our advanced planning and scheduling program, and I'm going to be spending more time talking on that over the next few minutes. Progress is our production reporting suite, and AutoStock is our replenishment optimization. So all of these work with your ERP system in whatever form that is, from Excel spreadsheets, MYOB, or all the way up to SAP or Oracle. So we're not fussy about what the business system is. We're just interested in helping you make the better decisions. Said we have these various modules: forecasting, capacity planning, optimization, master production scheduling, ePlanner that I'm going to be talking about today, AutoStock, and Progress. So basically, let's drill in a bit more into ePlanner. We don't have time for a deep dive today. I'm only going to be talking for a few more minutes, but just the fundamental purpose of ePlanner is it helps you plan brilliantly. And it does that by it automatically loads the work onto the best machines. and it will work out what the best machines are in the current context. It sequences the jobs to minimize the cost of manufacture. It's got very clever algorithms that you're in control of that will arrange the work in the way that causes the least disruption to the shop floor. And it considers all constraints and then shows you where intervention is required, where there's more than one choice, and we may not have all the information required to make that decision for you, or sometimes it's a depends kind of a question mark. Then we elevate those and say, hey, you've got a problem here, you need to intervene. And so you don't have to worry about all jobs, you only worry about those jobs that there's a problem on. And there's ePlanner is insanely capable. It is capable of dealing with the simplest plans, but there's a host of capable features, including capable and available to promise, material and supplier management. It will predict what materials you're going to use and need, and it will do a FIFO arrangement. We can develop picking slips for what needs to be issued from the shop floor as part of the schedule. We can tell you what you need to order to satisfy this plan that you don't have in stock now. It considers arrivals. One of the areas that's been most exciting and delivers most value to processes that have floating crew is the ability to labour and crew plan and use that as part of our resource plan, and also to share and to tie in a closer knit between operations and supply chain. Crew planning is an area where once you can see and get agreement from the shop floor on what crew they need where, we can predict that and have those discussions on a weekly basis about what crew we need and what shift patterns need to look like and who needs to be on what shift and where. Then we can start managing how that's going day on day, and the labour efficiency in the plant and the efficiency of the plant starts going through the roof if we're pre-predicting things like when maintenance activity is going to happen, when major changeovers are going to happen, or when customer approvals are going to happen. And if we start synchronizing all those activities with full visibility of what's going on, and then we plan the crew that we need around that, we get very, very large financial returns to the business. And that incorporates also maintenance and shutdown planning can be done with full transparency of the work that we have and the consequences of those plans. Basically, the process of ePlanner is a very elegant one, and it's very simple. So fundamentally what happens is it's normally on demand, so the planner chooses when to refresh, but it would be common, so they might come in in some businesses be every day they come in and recalibrate their plan, and other businesses they might run a plan once a week. Depends on the volatility of your business, but and we have some businesses in really fast turnaround, they may be running it every hour. So it depends on your business and what work you have to schedule and how fast you respond. But let's say many businesses would work on they'd cut a weekly master plan, and then may every working day they might recalibrate the plan and just see how they've gone overnight, see where the plan's up to and has anything changed. So the process there is you would come in and the planner would choose to load the data. It extracts, or we get the data in whatever way has been configured, but we would typically put a hand in the business system, grab the data, or take the data that's been provided to us, incorporate that in and see what's changed. So remember the sequence that we had yesterday. We load any new work onto the best machines available. We preserve the part of the plan you've told us to preserve, and kept that in sequence and recalibrated that for what's happened and where we're up to overnight. And then we add new work onto the best machines. We sequence any new work into the best available position to minimize cost and still consider delivery performance. And then automatically calculate the setup times, the start times and finish times of every job. We allocate all materials and stuff, and we highlight any issues. We can delay jobs if the material's not going to be available, highlight for you that you might be able to expedite the material, or you might need to delay this job. There's a choice for you. So anywhere there's if you've told the system that you want to manually intervene or resolve those issues manually, it will highlight that you have issues to resolve. And then you get in there and do that. And basically you choose when to release the schedule that you've been working on, and this could be a couple of minutes every day that you're doing, for what now it takes many people a whole day. They then manually resolve any issues, and then they click the publish button and the business system is updated. Customers are notified, or internal customers are notified of the latest plan. It might be the shop floor, could be team leaders, could be the warehouse for their picking plans, etc., etc. And depending on if you've got our schedules down on the shop floor electronically, they would be immediately displayed on the planning boards at the machines to show the crew what job they've got next, when we're expecting to finish up this job, and what job they're going on to next. When I talk about integrating with a system, we're not precious about whether you're using SAP, Oracle, JDE, QAD, Sightline, one of the Microsoft offerings, or any other variant. We work with you to agree the best way to get the data out of your system, and typically we'd start with whatever you're doing in Excel now is probably how we go, because it's already available. But we have adapters and we have capabilities of putting our hand in many of those databases, getting the data out for work orders, purchase orders, advanced shipping notices, customer orders, inventory, and then the master data like routings, bill of materials, item masters, material lead time, vendor preferences, etc., etc. So all that data gets sucked into either Prophit MPS is our piece where we decide how much of each product we're going to make, particularly for make-to-stock items, and ePlanner takes your make-to-order and your make-to-stock items and then sequences them to minimize cost and to optimize your delivery performance. We then push those, once you've planned, we push those back into the ERP system or the business system, so the consequences of the plans can be seen by people beyond the planning or the recipients of the schedule. And not every business does update their ERP system. Sometimes these planning processes run in parallel, but we fully subscribe to the notion of you want your business system to be one source of truth. So while we're planning offline, that's all good, but once we agree what the plan is, we should push it back into the ERP system. Now, I mentioned that we do automatic loading. I just want to give you a sense of the sophistication, the capabilities of this. In some businesses, there's one job goes to one machine, no problem. That's fine. We just follow the default routing. But sometimes we have multiple routings, either set up in your ERP or as common knowledge, which we then work with you to embed that inside Prophit. So if it's in your ERP, we'll use it, but you don't have to set up production versions and alternate routings for every combination that you may consider. As long as we have the rules in the system, we can do the loading for you. Without the rules in the system, we can still allow you to move work to machines that you know the work can run on. So it's up to you when we implement. Do we stick to the rules that are in your system, or do we introduce rules that you can manage? Now, here I've got different work, and I've colored them just for simplicity. This is a particular material, a weave pattern 129. These are printing weaving looms. And this particular loom can handle work up to 11.4 meters. Or sorry, that job is 11.4 meters. The next job in sequence, this sequence along here that we need to run, is 174 design, and it's 8.5 meters, 300 and 8.2 meters, etc., etc. What I've depicted here is the different looms that are available for work. Not all of them can do every job, and the frozen bar represents the amount of work. So it's a visual representation of there's a moderate amount of work already on line 14 that we've said we're not going to change that. That's our best sequence there. Line 13 has got more work, and line 8 has got tons of work on it. So that's how this represents. Now, when we grab the job, if we're using the automatic loading and we've been told to balance, we look at what machines can this job work on. Now, we can balance, we can do prioritized loading. There are many, many alternatives for how we do this, but just by way of example, if you picture this as a balanced loading, we're just trying to get all the work through as fast as possible. So we go and put that job on each of the machines and figure out, well, where does it finish first? And in this case, it finishes on loom 9 first. The different height represents the fact that they might run at different pace. But to get it through the plant as quickly as possible, we put it, in this case, even though it runs slower on loom 9 and is taking up more capacity, it's a next due job and it will finish first to there. So we would leave it on that machine if we're choosing to balance based on the end time. If we were worried about the processing rate, we would use a cascading priority where we'd load up the fastest, where it runs fastest and you'd argue cheapest first, and only look at moving it to other machines if it was going to be late on the fastest machine. So there are a range of routines. I'm just showing how the balancing would work. The next job can only run on loom 13, so I've colored that pink, so it goes there. The next job, the green one, can run on several machines, like loom 5 and loom 7, so we check it out there and we'd leave it on loom 5. So hopefully that, and obviously we go through and add using the same method to go and add the rest of the jobs. So without labouring the point, sorry about that, without labouring the point, we would go through and load all of these up, irrespective if they're all routed through one machine. We'll balance it out for you if you ask us to do the machine loading. So ePlanner is very, very clever that way, and all the data is available for you to manage these rules. These rules rarely sit in an ERP system, and really in a method that you could actually include the way that you want the work to be loaded. So where the information is not fit for purpose in the ERP, we provide you ways of managing that or intervening on those rules so that the system can balance in the way that you'd have it. And when we sequence jobs, imagine that work has appeared like this. What I'm doing here is I've loaded the work from left to right. Each of these colors represents a different type of job. So there's a characteristic associated with the color. I'm just going to explain how we sequence to minimize cost. So we first look at all the work that's got to be done in what we call a cluster, or a pool of time. So maybe for the next week, this is all the work that needs to be done on a particular machine. And then we would go through and we'd cluster all of those jobs that have the same characteristic. And by putting them all together, we're going to minimize the changeovers. We then look at how do these need to be arranged, these clusters. Sometimes there's a logic between the clusters, like going from a mild cheese to a strong flavored cheese, or maybe it's going from a wide product to a narrow product, or whatever the particular characteristics are. Sometimes there is a needed sequence between the different types of products. If there isn't, we look at the date of the most urgent job in that cluster, and we arrange the whole cluster based on what needs to be done first. So again, you're in full control of these rules, and they evolve, tend to grow over time as the shop floor has more and more input, and our understanding of and our understanding of the scheduling nuances and constraints in the plant change. These are evolved with you, and they're done simply, and the planner can control them. So once we've clustered everything together and arranged those clusters in a suitable sort order, we then go and take, for example, all of these ones and then look at the next parameter down. Let's say this was, I don't know, can height. Perhaps the next parameter would be can width, or maybe a diameter, or maybe it would be tin coat, or maybe it would be the lacquer that's being used. So it could be any parameter that you choose. And then we go through and then look at these, the first level cluster, and then rearrange that first level cluster into the second level cluster. So we're minimizing the next layer down of changeovers. You typically start clusters at the highest level and most problematic changeovers, and then go to the next most problematic changeover, and so on and so forth. If that is making food cans, it's typically a diameter change is a major problem. So you do that first, and then a height change would be a minor problem, and maybe the end type that's being put on, or the necker, flange, and so on. So the different characteristics of the product are arranged typically by order of significance of the changeovers. In this clustering routine, we can have up to 10 clusters or 10 characteristics of products that dictate how we group the jobs. When we're inside ePlanner, it is insanely visual. Here in this case, we've got, this is a pasteurizing or milk packing plant. They get fresh milk coming in. They pasteurize it for this pasteurizing machine here. These steri tanks are the tanks where the milk has to sit and be processed and held until it's ready to be packed off. And just by while this is quite a complex plant and planning, all these machines down here are filling plants that can draw from the same source milk. The job here, we've center clicked on that, and it colors to show you where that job flows. So this job is pasteurized here. It fills the tanks here and here. You can see the draw off happening on the tank there. And down here we have the filling lines, and there's 2 jobs here and 3 jobs here where that material is being drawn down off from the holding tanks to be packed off at these packing lines that are pumping out from the tanks and putting it into finished containers. So you can see the flow. Okay, well, that's needed there. It sits still here and then it's drawn off, and the last of this material and milk is packed off in these filling jobs. So just a center click allows you to visualize that very, very simply within the context of the rest of the work that needs to be done on that day. One of the things that really separates planner from its competitors is, firstly, it's insanely configurable and agile. So and you don't need us to do all of that. So while we help you set up the initial implementation, the configuration and adjustments are typically no more than a phone call, which is already covered in your maintenance. We jump on your machine and we do it for you. We change it while you wait, or we show you how to do it and you remember how to do it and you just do it yourself. So it's, it can take minutes to change, for example, fields that you're looking at on the screen, or the order of the way that jobs are being clustered and so on. One of the other things that ePlanner is insanely capable at, and I've never seen anywhere else, and was one of my reasons why I decided to build ePlanner, was we create a value proposition or value understanding. Each time you move a job around, we show you what the setup costs are, how many other jobs are late. And it's a dynamic KPI arrangement that we have that I incorporated in the product because I saw so many times planning is stuck between sales demanding service and operations demanding that they have longer runs for efficiency because they're getting measured on efficiency. And they're the poor buggers in the center, struggling with a hard hat on, getting hand grenades thrown at them from both sides. They didn't have the information that they need to be able to steer the direction of the bus or justify why they're making decisions that they are. So what we've done in Prophit is, instead of the GM coming down, pounding the table and say, you will not be late, I need you to get this job out now, they're able to say, okay, boss, but if I do that within seconds, that's going to cost another $3,020 if we do that, and 3 other jobs are going to be late. If you want, I can tell you which jobs are going to be late, but maybe saving Mars is really important, but not if we let down Nestle or Coke. So can you give me 20 minutes and I'll come back with all the scenarios, the options that we've got. Right now, if I just say yes to what you're asking me to, it's expensive and it's problematic. So arming the planner with the right information actually liberates them. They're now no longer having to fight for every decision they make. They have to justify it. They've actually got proof and immediate feedback so that they can check their own assumptions first and explain it to the business quickly, succinctly, and without emotion. To me, that's an absolute game changer on it, and it totally liberates the way our planners work and are perceived in the business. We have very, very powerful ways of dealing with crew planning. For example, where you've got, in this view, I'm showing you some machines, and these are the setup time, and here's where the job's running. The blue represents when we've got crew in attendance, and then there's no crew, and then you've got the next job running on Monday morning, and so on and so forth. Here's where you decide you turn on or off shifts. If we've only got 5 crews, we can decide which, and for example, 10 machines, we can decide which machines we want to run on which shift and allocate that as a plan and check and use this kind of planning to make sure that our setups aren't all occurring on one day. Here they're nice and spread out, or that we don't have, that we're not expecting to do, have a lone crew that this red shows there's a maintenance activity for that week. So we're not expecting to have crew on that line where it's down for maintenance. So being able to visualize that, discuss these, it shows you the total crew that are required and the lines we've got running on any particular shift, then becomes not only a way to discuss and negotiate with operations what's expected, we can also communicate that quickly through maintenance and the team leaders and everyone else involved in the supply chain. There's very visual ways of communicating calendars and campaigns and so on. But what I might do is, just before we wind up, I'll quickly show you what ePlanner looks like so you can actually see how quick it is to interact with. And then I'll invite you to come and talk to us. So I've just started a drag and drop view. I'm just showing a couple of machines here. I can switch between machine groups or machines. I can look at, that's looking about a week and a half. I can quickly look out a month or go back into just looking at the next couple of days. I can, just to show you what I was talking about before, if I want to grab a job here and I dragged it over onto this machine, that's going to cause one job to be late. Okay, so firstly, that's not a great move. So the second thing I might do is, if I was to grab that funky blue, represents that job is frozen, meaning that we don't want to accidentally resequence that. We've already made plans to run that. Okay, so that's working in our favor. We've got one job that's better for it. there's 2 jobs that are dissatisfied. So I could just decide, you know what, that's a crappy plan. So I can quickly interact with this. Now, some things that you should know about visual warning and the visual cues that we use. That red arrow means that you've got a problem with material in this job. The black arrow here means that you're probably okay. It looks like you'll be okay, but the material isn't in stock yet. So it's expected to arrive in time, but it's not there yet. There's no arrow on here, so there's no material plan. If I want to look at the material, just by clicking, I can bring up the job card, and here are all the materials that belong to that particular job or are needed for it. It's already calculated what the job quantity that we need, what the cumulative quantity of all other jobs. It's telling us we'll get more in on 27th of October, and we don't need it till 1st of November, so we should be okay. I want to check out any of the transactions on this. I just click on the child, and it shows me a running tally of what's happening with this stock. So we've got 2 arrivals for 18,008 due on the 24th and the 25th, and that should bring our stock level up to a suitable amount. That's one way of planning. The other way is, and for people that are used to Excel, this is a more common way of planning, is to go through, and if I look at EBM6, it shows me the jobs that are on EBM6. I've got some already frozen. If I want to move that job up to between 2 and 3, put it as 2.5 and just hit use new sequence. And on that, it's automatically recalculated the start time and the finish time of that job and the setup times. A 6-hour setup, then a 2-hour setup, 6-hour, 2-hour, 6-hour. So it's recalculated that based on the new sequence. So it only took, less than a second to do that. If I want to see what machines I can move this to, if I don't want to leave it on that machine, in this case, I've only got the one production version available. This client uses SAP, so we use their production versions. That one also only has one. But if we've got more options than that, I'll just find another machine. This one has 2 machines it can run on. It can run on BM5 or BM6. So I can choose to reallocate that to a new machine, and it will disappear from this sequence. So it's very, very quick to go and arrange the work in the sequence that you want. All of these fields are configurable. And so here we've, for example, saying here's the due date. When it's due to be completed, we've got a demand due date, which tells us when we're actually going to run out of stock. So in the case where it's a make to stock order, we'll get a date saying you're actually going to run out of stock on the 25th. So that's a really important date. If we had 3 weeks stock cover, then it may be that you're not going to run out till sometime in November. So maybe it's not so important that you finish it by the 31st of October. So it allows the planner, gives the planner the information they need. If this information is not relevant to you, we hide it. And you can turn on or off the columns that you want to see. Here we've got the size, material, and color, and this allows us to say, okay, these are all 2-litre bottles. This is a 240-litre bottle. Oh, sorry, 2.4-litre bottle. That's a 1-litre, 2 and 2, and so on. So we would get a better plan by moving those up between 2 and 3. So we can go and move them to 2. And then that's going to put it at 2.4 and 2.9. And it's done exactly that. I've now got all the 2s together, all the 2 litres in a 2.4 and a 1. And overall, that will have reduced the total cost of changeovers. And we see now our setups are 0, 2, 2, 2, and 6 and 6. Before there was an 8-hour in there. So we've reduced the impact on the business. Once we're happy with the schedule, we freeze in place the jobs that we're happy with, and we go and publish the schedule, and then that updates the business system and sends emails out to everybody involved about what the new schedule looks like. There's an array of schedules that allow us to communicate to different people, and these can be put on auto emails. So, for example, the person picking the warehouse jobs can automatically see the pick lists. If we have a pick list report, it'll be sitting in there when I select the different machines. We can show the shop floor schedule, etc. And they are automatically emailed to the people that are required or can be run on demand. There is so many more features in this tooling, job changeover parameters, the way the schedule flows, et cetera, is a very powerful and capable system. There's literally not time to talk about them all now. What I'd urge you to do is, if you're at all interested, if these the challenges of Excel resonate with you and you recognize some of those issues, I'd urge you to get in contact with us. Just have a look at, sorry about that. Have a look at our contact details, and please, if you feel like having a chat or a cup of coffee over discussing your particular challenges, or if you'd like to give us a call and get some more information, brochures, or arrange a detailed webinar and an exploration of what your challenges are, we'd love to hear from you. So thanks very much for tuning in, and I look forward to hearing from you about your particular challenges. Bye for now.